and forgive us our debts,
as
we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Praise the Lord. He is good. His mercy endure forever. Praise the Lord God of Israel. For he is good. And his mercy endure forever. In Jesus' name we pray. The Holy One of Israel. The King of Kings. The Lord of Lords. The one true God. There is no other. Amen. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet shall stand within thy gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is builded as a city that is compact together. Whether the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the name of the Lord. For there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls, and prosperity within thy palaces. For my brethren and companions' sake, I will now say, peace be within thee. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek thy good. I read to you Psalm 122, verses 1 through 9. May the Lord add hearing and doing of his word. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Happy Sabbath. All right. We waiting for the brothers to come to Atlanta, but until they get here, we're just going to go ahead and get into a lesson this morning. Easy lesson, simple. We're going to keep it real simple. It's called Remember the Sabbath Day to Keep It Holy. And, that's one of the things that, people just, that's one of the commitments that people just have a problem with keeping. Nobody want to keep the Sabbath. They say, oh, we love the Lord and we want to serve God and they don't want to keep the Sabbath day. No, they don't want to do that. And that's one of that's the only commandment that the Lord required us to remember. To be honest with you, that's one of the most important ones, the fourth commandment. Let's get to the lesson and see when this whole Sabbath got started. Because this was before it was any Jews, any Christians, anything like that. A lot of people say, oh, you must be Jewish since you keep Sabbath day and stuff like that. But in the beginning, there was no Jews. Let's see when it started. Let's start out in the book of Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 1.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done, which he had made.
Right, so as you can see, that the Lord, he rested on this seventh day of the week, which is the Sabbath day, which we know as Saturday. He rested on that day. That was the day that he made it, and he rested. So this was a day made for rest. Read verse 3, bro.
And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made.
Right, so he blessed this day right here is a blessed day. It's the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath. It's the blessed day that the Lord made for rest. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. Let's go to the Ten Commandments. Exodus chapter 20. And pick us up at verse 1. Get that, bro. Go ahead and read.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Right. So we see at verse 1 it says, and God spake all these words, saying. So we understand that this isn't Moses' law. This isn't the Mosaic law. This is God gave these laws to Moses. God was one who ordained these laws. Jump down to verse 8.
Remember the Sabbath day, keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor, and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
So the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Keep going.
In it thou shalt not do any work.
So he reiterated the fact that we should not do any work on this seventh day of the week. Keep reading.
Thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is in thy gates.
Not even the stranger. But keep reading.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
And hallowed it, made it holy. Again, we see that the Lord made the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day, holy. That's a holy day of rest for mankind, from all our work. So why wouldn't we want to rest on this day? I mean, you want to work all week? 7 days a week? Nah, nobody don't do that. We want to rest on that day. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31. Because the Lord is serious about this Sabbath day. It's a very, very serious thing. So people don't understand that. Let's read it. Exodus chapter 31, and pick this up at verse 12. When you get that, bro, go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations.
Right. So we see that the Lord did make this covenant, this sign with Israel, and it says, Speak thou, and it says, and the Lord speaking to Moses, saying, Speak thou unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep. It is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. So this is a sign that's throughout all the generations. I mean, that's forever. Keep reading.
That ye may know that I am the Lord that does sanctify you.
Right.
Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you.
That's right. It's a whole day. We already read that before, but go ahead, keep reading.
Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death.
That's right. So it's death to the ones that defile this Sabbath day. And that's serious. It's coming from the Lord. The Lord spoke this. But keep reading.
For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is Sabbath of rest. Holy of the Lord, whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
Man,
Well,
that don't sound too. Read that again. Read 15 again. I'm sorry.
6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. Hold to the Lord. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death.
Put to death, and the Lord mean that. Now we're gonna see an example of that. But keep reading.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for perpetual covenant.
A perpetual covenant, which is an ongoing covenant that never stops. It never supposed to end. It's ongoing, forever. But let's keep reading.
It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave it to Moses when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the fingers of God.
Written with what?
The fingers of God.
It wasn't written by the finger of Moses. It was written by the finger of God. So this is, as we see, two different times in these paragraphs that we just read, is that the Lord is serious about the Sabbath day, and if you defile it, it's death. There is death to the ones that defile the Sabbath day. Let's see an example of that. Let's go to Numbers chapter 15. See how serious this Sabbath day is. Numbers chapter 15. Pick this up at verse 32. When you get there, you go ahead and read.
And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation.
So they were hanging out in the wilderness one day. I guess it was a Sabbath day. And they found a man gathering sticks. He was working on the Sabbath. He was working on the Sabbath. The congregation didn't know what to do with him, so they handed him over to Moses and Aaron. But keep reading.
And they put him inward, because it was not declared what should be done to him.
Right, so they isolated him. They put him in ward, because they didn't know what to do with him. But what did the Lord tell Moses to do with him? Keep reading.
And the Lord said to Moses, the man shall be surely put to death.
Surely put to death for working on the Sabbath day. So your job telling you, hey, we need you to come in for a couple of hours. And I think about this right here. What we read right now, I quit. I'm sorry, I can't do it. The Lord ain't gonna kill me. I need to come to work on the Sabbath day. Let's keep reading though.
All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And all the congregation brought him without camp and stoned him stones. And he died, as the Lord commanded Moses.
And so the Lord ordained the death of a man for breaking the Lord's Sabbath day. Now how serious, how much more serious can that get? Let's see who the Sabbath. If the Sabbath is only for the Jews, you got some people say, oh, well, it's only for the Jewish people. We don't have to keep the Sabbath anymore. Go to Isaiah 56. Isaiah chapter 56. Some of us already know what it reads, but we're going to read it again.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah chapter 56. This Sabbath is for everybody, for man, all people. When you get that, bro, go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil.
That's right. Keep reading.
Neither let the son of thy stranger that have joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, the Lord hath early separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree.
So did you catch that? He said, neither let the son of the stranger that has joined himself to the Lord, the stranger being anybody outside the nation of Israel. So we're talking about other nations right now. He just talking about Israel. Other nations that want to serve God and keep the Sabbath. Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch, even the Lord covered all bases, right? He even talking about the eunuch, which is a castrated male. You know, for everybody, this is he might turn leaving no stones unturned over, unturned. Sorry, I said, behold, I am a dry tree. So basically, don't let anybody say that don't want to. You know, if they want to serve God and keep the Sabbath day, don't let them feel like they can't, be a part of what we, doing as coming up under the covenant of Israel. Keep reading.
For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuch, that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in my house, and within my walls, a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters.
So he even talked to the other nations, even unto them I will give, that I give in mine house, within my walls, a place and a name better than the sons and daughters. So he can really look out for the stranger that's trying to keep his will to keep his Sabbath. But keep reading.
I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off.
That's right, keep reading, bro.
Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord to serve him and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taking hold of my covenant.
That's right. Keep reading, bro.
Even them will I bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
Only for the Jews.
For all people.
For all people. That's right. So we understand that the Lord is serious about the Sabbath day, and this is Sabbath is for everybody, for mankind, period, for all people. But let's see an example. Let's see if Jesus kept this Sabbath day. Because Jesus, that's we call ourselves, Christians, and we're supposed to be followers of Christ. So let's see if, Christ was an example for us. So Christ kept the Sabbath. But let's read Luke chapter 4. Luke chapter 4, and let's bring it down verse 14. Luke chapter 4, and bring it down to verse 14. This is after Jesus came from out of the wilderness from fasting for 40 days. And Satan came and tried to tempt Jesus, and he resisted Satan. He basically resisted him and blocked him off using scripture. But bring it down to 14. You get that, bro? Go ahead and read.
And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read.
Wow, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. So Jesus was in the synagogue on the Sabbath day preaching, reading. 17, bro.
And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance unto the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord.
That's it there, brother. So what we see is Jesus in the synagogue, teaching on the Sabbath day, reading from the Old Testament. Isaiah, as a matter of fact, he's reading Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1.5, verse 2. But we see this example of Jesus keeping the Sabbath. And I just don't understand why anybody else wouldn't want to, be a follower of Christ and do what Christ did and by keeping the Lord's Sabbath day. You know, Satan is very crafty. Mm-hmm. Let's jump over to Revelation chapter 12. Let's see, because Satan is real crafty, and he's gotten to the minds of a lot of people, a lot of you know, he's one of the reasons. He's basically the reason why people are stirred away from truth. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Just read that one verse.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan,
which can't do,
which deceived the whole world.
So Satan deceived the whole world through Sunday worship, through false doctrine and false teaching. We see here the Lord kept the Sabbath day. He kept the Sabbath day holy. Let's jump back over to the book of Acts. Acts chapter 18. Because you know, some people say, oh well, when Jesus died, you know, he took away everything. We don't have to keep the Sabbath day anymore. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to keep the dietary law. We eat shrimp, crab, lobster, and calamari. But we understand that's not true. And we see even the apostles kept the Sabbath day even after Christ died. Let's go to, like I said, Acts chapter 18 and pick it up at verse 1.
After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came to them. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought, for by their occupation they were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath, and persuaded Jews and Greeks. And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in spirit. He testified.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And he testified to the Jews that Jesus was Christ.
That's right. So we see that Paul was in the synagogue every Sabbath persuading the Jews and the Greeks. So he speaks to the Jews and the Gentiles, basically. And he was preaching Jesus. And this is after Christ died. This is years after Christ died. Paul was still keeping the Sabbath day and keeping the feast days and all those days. Acts chapter 13. Acts chapter 13. Because the Bible tells you, it's the Sabbath in all your dwelling, and wherever you at, we try to keep the Sabbath everywhere. Acts chapter 13, and pick it up at 14.
But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia, and went to the synagogue on the seventh day and sat down.
So you even see Paul traveling. So even during his travel, going from city to city, when the Sabbath came, he found him in the synagogue and he sat down because he knew what time it was with the Sabbath day. Paul was reading the Old Testament. He knew the Lord when playing with the Sabbath. Let's as a matter of fact, let's read that Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23. This is the Sabbath, and wherever you at, that's the Sabbath. You know, like I said before, even if you on the moon, it's the Sabbath day. Hey man, I gotta go back to the ship, man. I gotta say, man, it's the Sabbath, man. Yes, it's Leviticus chapter 23. Let's start at verse 1, bro. You get there? Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel.
So we see again, the Lord is telling Moses, he's commanding Moses, but keep reading.
Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
In all your dwellings. So wherever you at, the Lord, the Lord said the Sabbath. Paul understood him. Because he, like I said, during his traveling, just read, he found himself the Sabbath. You know, he found himself a synagogue to sit down and chill out on the Sabbath. But let's see, Paul kept these the high Sabbaths too. I want to point that out in Acts chapter 20 and verse 6. Acts chapter 20 and verse 6. Acts chapter 20. I'm not there yet. slow. Keep reading, bro. Go ahead, go ahead and start. Acts chapter 20, verse 6. Get that to read.
And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came unto them to Troas in 5 days, but we abode 7 days.
Keep reading.
And upon the first day of the week, when the disciples came together to break bread, Paul preached unto them, ready to depart on the morrow, and continue his speech until midnight.
Right, so, but we do see in verse 6 that he, it says, and we sailed away from Philippi, right, after the days of unleavened bread. So Paul was keeping the feast of the days of unleavened bread. He kept, okay, so he kept those days. But let's go back to Leviticus 23, and we're going to read 1 through 6.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be a holy convocation, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath for rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Go ahead, keep reading, bro.
These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
So we saw Paul keeping the feast of unleavened bread. And so he was keeping this pertaining to Leviticus chapter 23. Paul understood what the Lord was talking about. That's what I'm saying. You can't do it with the Old Testament. But let's see if this, we're going to keep the Sabbath day to the end of the world. Let's go to Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. And when you get verse 3, bro, when you get there, go ahead and read.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of the coming and the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Heed that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Jump down to 15, bro.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth let him understand, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains.
Right, because the Lord is talking about a time that's going to come, which is the Great Tribulation. That's going to be a very bad time. This is basically the end of the world, what he's talking about. But keep reading.
Let him which is on the house not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
What did he take in verse 20?
But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day.
That's right, because see, now this is at the end of the world, and the Lord is still calling this day the Sabbath day. That's how you know it's not done away with yet. At the end of the world, we have to, 21, go ahead, 21.
For there shall be great tribulations, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
Right, so, but we see up in verse 20, during this time of great tribulation, the Lord still calling this the Sabbath day. Still, that's at the end of the world. So you cannot, let anybody tell you that the Sabbath is done away with and it's still not valid and good to this day. Brothers and sisters, that was a class, and I hope somebody got some understanding on the Lord's Sabbath day. I'm going to turn this over to the brother.